Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Casa D18 Studios Channel, and welcome to another episode of Albumversearies, the show that goes track by track on albums that are celebrating an anniversary. Today's artists were an American vocal quartet from the Motor City of Detroit, Michigan. They were one of the most successful pop music groups of the 1960s and helped propel the Motown record label to international fame. They were originally founded as the Four Ames, but they're more famously known as the Four Tops. Lead singer Levi Stubbs, Abdul Duke Fakir, Ronaldo Obi Benson, and Lawrence Payton remained together for over 4 decades, performing from 1953 until 1997 without a change in personnel. The Four Tops were among a number of groups, which included the Miracles, the Marvelettes, Martha and the Vandellas, the Temptations, and the Supremes, who really helped to establish the Motown Sound. They were notable for having Stubbs, a baritone, as their lead singer, whereas most other male groups and mixed vocal groups were fronted by tenors. The group was the main male vocal group for the highly successful songwriting and production team of Holland, Dozier, and Holland, who crafted a stream of hit singles for the Motown Records label. These included 2 Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits for the Four Tops, I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch in 1965, and Reach Out, I'll Be There in 1966. The group continued to have chart singles well into the 70s, including the million-seller Ain't No Woman in 1973. The group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1990 and into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 1999. In 2013, into the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame, and Rolling Stone magazine ranked them at number 79 on its list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. On July 20th of last year, the last surviving original member, Fakir, retired, and sadly he died 2 days later. Out of the 11 songs on the album, 6 of them were written by the Holland Dozier Holland team, which consisted of Lamont Dozier and brothers Brian and Eddie Holland, including the first song of the album, which is probably the best known song from their debut album, Baby, I Need Your Lovin'. The song was the group's first Motown single, having been released on July 10th, 1964, and it was their first top 20 hit, making it all the way to number 11 on Billboard's Hot 100 charts here in the States. It even made it to number 4 in Canada in the fall of 1964. It was also their first million-selling hit single, and Cashbox describes it as an intriguing rock-a-cha-cha beat pleader that the Four Tops carve out with solid sales authority. Rolling Stone magazine ranked the Four Tops' original version of the song at number 400 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. What more can be said about the song except that it's iconic? So much so that Johnny Rivers covered it in 1967 and was able to take it all the way to number 3 on Billboard's Hot 100 and number 1 in Canada, topping the Four Tops' original success. The song has been covered by other artists, including Eric Carmen, who's probably best known for his 1975 single, All By Myself, as well as Hungry Eyes from the 1987 film Dirty Dancing. Lisa Stansfield, who is best known for her 1989 single, All Around the World, which would later on be sampled by Puff Daddy and Mace for their 1997 single, Been Around the World, and even Michael McDonald, who's best known for his 1982 single, I Keep Forgetting, which was sampled by Warren G and Nate Dogg for their 1994 smash hit, Regulate. Track 2's Without the One You Love, Life's Not Worthwhile, released on November 4th, 1964, was the follow-up to the Four Tops' prior hit, Baby, I Need Your Lovin'. And it was designed to sound very similar, with a similar theme, similar tempo, and similar sound. However, after the near top 10 success of the Four Tops' Baby, I Need Your Lovin', Without the One You Love proved to be a commercial disappointment, failing to reach Billboard Top 40, going as far as to only peak at number 43. The song did do better on the Cashbox R&B chart, where it reached the top 20, charting at number 17. See, at this time, Billboard did not show R&B chart listings, so we don't know what it would have done on an R&B chart. Cashbox would describe Without the One You Love, Life's Not Worthwhile as a feelingful jumper, which is done in very commercial fashion and which it expected to repeat the success of Baby I Need Your Lovin'. AllMusic critic William Ruhlman attributes its relative lack of chart success to a number of factors, one of which is that the title is too long. He also believes that the song is overproduced, particularly by giving the many backup singers too prominent of a role, including singing the opening lines at the expense of lead singer Levi Stubbs. Nonetheless, fellow AllMusic critic Ron Wynn considers the song to be marvelously sung. A cover version was done for the Magnificent Seven album by the Four Tops and the Supremes in September of 1970. Lead vocals were provided by the group's lead singers, Gene Terrell, who had taken over as the lead singer of the Supremes once Diana Ross went solo, and Levi Stubbs. I can definitely see the similarities in the two songs. However, I like the fact that the background singers got an opportunity to shine. It might be part of why Motown staples, like the Supremes, broke up, with singers going solo. And the Four Tops continued with the original lineup until 1997, when Lawrence Payton passed away. Where Did You Go is track 3 for the album, and it was released on January 5th, 1965 as the B-side of the Ask the Lonely single, which we'll get into in a moment. The song was fished out of the sessions for the Four Tops' debut LP, which was released later in the month. Unlike the A-side, this one was crafted by the group's usual writing producers, Holland Dozier Holland. But crucially, it was recorded after the Ask the Lonely sessions and the song was already in the can. Now, Holland Dozier Holland as a trio possessed great attributes which led them to world-conquering success. Firstly, they were great tunesmiths, capable of coming up with strange and unexpected and often beautiful chord progressions and melodies, unlike any of their contemporaries. Secondly, they were great recyclers. They were never shy about reusing ideas from one song if they could be deployed to good effect in another. Thirdly, and probably the most importantly, they listened to everything going on around them. They absorbed the best ideas that floated past and put together their own take on those sounds. We've already seen their abilities on display, and so knowing that the trio were apparently somewhat peeved to discover that the Tops, their pet project, were to have a new single written and produced by someone else, it's kind of legitimate to wonder if Where Did You Go isn't in some way a response to Ask the Lonely. Speaking of Ask the Lonely, the song that is track 4 on the album was released as a single, as I mentioned, on January 5th, 1965, and served as the A-side of the previous song. Ask the Lonely is the first song on the album that wasn't written by the Holland Dozier Holland team, instead being written by William Mickey Stevenson. The song, while not as successful as Baby I Need Your Lovin', was able to get to number 24 on the pop charts, just narrowly missing the top 20, and then reached number 9 on the R&B charts. For additional vocals on the song, the Four Tops were joined by the Andantes, a female session group on the Motown label that was composed of Jackie Hicks, Marlene Barrow, and Louvain Demps. The Andantes sang background vocals on numerous Motown recordings, including Uptight, Everything's All Right by Stevie Wonder, How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You, and Ain't That Peculiar by Marvin Gaye, Get Ready by The Temptations, Jimmy Mack by Martha and the Vandellas, Baby I Need Your Loving, It's the Same Old Song, Standing in the Shadows of Love, and Bernadette by the Four Tops, as well as the chart-topping hits My Guy by Mary Wells, Stop in the Name of Love by the Supremes, I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, and Reach Out, I'll Be There by the Four Tops, I Heard It Through the Grapevine by Marvin Gaye, and Diana Ross's Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Billboard magazine described the song as, quote, a strong ballad follow-up to the Four Tops' previous single, Without the One You Love, Life's Not Worthwhile. While Cashbox described the single as a throbbing cha-cha beat heartbreaker that the Four Tops serve up with loads of feeling. Now, I made sure to listen to Ask the Lonely and Where Did You Go back to back, and I really don't see the latter as a response to the former, but let me know what you think. Let's chat about it in the comments. Track 5's Your Love Is Amazing was actually released as the B-side of the Four Tops' second single from their second album, It's the Same Old Song, on July 9th, 1965. It's an absolutely killer song, deserving of far more recognition than it's received. The song's playful nature is a pleasure to behold, frequently stopping everything to indulge in a bounding 7-note riff, followed by a divine, soaring ooh from this group of 7 as the Four Tops join forces once again with the Andantes. The pure happiness that radiates out of this can never be dulled. You could probably do a death metal version of Your Love Is Amazing and be unable to shake that giddy bounce, the head over heels joy of being in love. Much like the previous song, track 6's Sad Souvenirs, released on April 23rd, 1965, was the B-side of a single off the Four Tops' second album. This time it was the album's first single, I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, that this song was paired with. The song was co-written by Ivy Jo Hunter. The song was co-written by Ivy Jo Hunter and William Mickey Stevenson. And Stevenson, of course, had penned Ask the Lonely, which we talked about previously. Stevenson was also the A&R director for Motown Records. Levi Stubbs has a voice that was made for melodrama, and here, amongst the trumpets and all the decorative strings and all those drums beating out their molasses slow marching tempo, Four Tops' developing sound of the 3 remaining tops and the 3 Andantes blending together in a semi-operatic harmony behind their barking angel of a leader, the sound just feels natural. The tune vamps dramatically between what sounds like 2 songs that are different that have been kind of grafted together. It also gives us a great pointer for the group's future in the shape of Levi's shoutiest lead vocal yet. Some notes take your breath away with their beauty and pain, and some notes take his breath away as he barks and spits his phrases. For the next 2 songs, we're going to stick with the Ivy Jo Hunter and William Mickey Stevenson songwriting duo. And first up is track 7's Don't Turn Away. In the song, Stubbs tells us the story of a woman who is leaving him for another man. He brings up the fact that he knows that the other guy promised her the world, but she told him that she'd always be his girl. He tells her that he trusted her, and now she wants someone to take his place. Finally, he tells her that her love has been the spark of life to him, and if she leaves, it'll be the death of him. How much can one heart stand? The song is a sheer tragedy mixed with a catchy mid-up tempo rhythm. In Tea House in Chinatown, which comes in as track 8 on the album, Stubbs tells us a story about how he stopped to eat one foggy day in the Frisco Bay and fell in love at first sight. The object of his affection is the waitress who served him his cup of tea. He goes as far as to say that she, quote, stole his heart with a humble smile. He mentions how he first saw her in the candlelight, so lovely and fair, and how her every move seemed to be a melody. Even though there was no real relationship with this woman, he still manages to get a little bit jealous as he says that he can't stand to see her serve another man. As the song comes to its close, Stubbs tells us that he thinks he loves her still, and he thinks he always will. It's a tremendous story song with the toe-tapping medley, and I'm a sucker for a good story song. For track 9's Left with a Broken Heart, we get a new songwriter here in the form of Marv Johnson. And despite two completely different songwriters, this feels like the next chapter of Don't Turn Away. It's almost as if Stubbs is telling the girl that left him what will happen in her new relationship. He says in the second verse that, quote, I guess this is where you want to be. Still, I'd rather have you here with me. He tells us that he knew he was taking her away by the way he looked at her that day. And he warns her as the song ends, quote, someday you'll want to come back to me, but in someone else's arms, I'm going to be. And just like you did to me, you're going to be standing all alone, all by yourself. I love the feel of the drums in the song here. It gives a very military marching band feel to it, which I think adds to the melancholy tone of the song. For the album's final two songs, we go back to the Holland Dozier Holland songwriting team for the B-sides to the album's first two singles. First up at track 10 is Love Has Gone, released on November 4th, 1964, as the B-side to Without the One You Love, Life's Not Worthwhile. It serves as a nice little reminder of just how magnificent the Four Tops can be. One of Stubbs's gifts is knowing precisely how far away he could stray from the melody line and do his own thing without irreparably damaging the tune. And that gift is on full display here. Behind him and around him, the other three tops, mixed with the voices of the three andantes, fill the record with a sound that sounds like it was piped in from another realm. The album's final track, Call on Me, was originally released on July 10th of 1964 as the B-side of Baby I Need Your Loving. It's a case of even when Motown's strongest magic departs the studio, and the material that the boys and the girls are left to work with is of a lower caliber, the vocals are often still just outstanding. Once again, as most all these tracks, this is a showcase for Levi Stubbs and his magnificent voice. 1 minute ocean deep and the next throatily hoarse, but the harmonies behind him are far less intricate than on the single's A-side. It sounds like a cover of something that the Four Tops or some other doo-wop group might have sung on some street corner in 1956, but it's been tidied up with the slicker, more professional Motown band and those orchestral strings keeping the tempo chugging along behind Levi, meaning that the other tops who might otherwise have provided a multi-part harmony backing aren't really needed at all. Once again, as a lot of these albums I've discussed, this is the first time I've heard this album all the way through. Seem to be sensing a pattern here. It's hard to believe that this album and these songs are 60 years old. I think a lot of it still holds up to this day, and the songwriting and production, for the most part, is a true testament to the force that was Motown Records back in the 60s. Is this an album that I will consistently listen to from start to finish? If I'm being honest, probably not. However, that doesn't mean that songs like Don't Turn Away, Left with a Broken Heart, and Tea House in Chinatown won't get added to playlists so that I can hear those on a more steady basis. All in all, I give this album a 7 out of 10. What do you guys think? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments section, and let's engage in some fun banter about the universal language, music. That's going to wrap up today's Albumversary for the Four Tops' debut album. It's been fun discussing this one for you guys. It was a fun listen and a fun time talking about it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure you smash that like button, you hit the share, you turn that notification bell on so you know every time we're celebrating another Albumversary here on the channel. And until the next time when we reconvene to celebrate another Albumversary, I am the Renegade J.J. Williams, thanking you for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.